1881, Salonica. A port city on the northern coast of the Aegean Sea, today it belongs. To Greece in those years, it was one of the most important cities of the Ottoman Empire. A cosmopolitan place, Muslims, Christians and Jews living side by side, merchants, sailors, teachers, and tradespeople, different languages, spoken in the same marketplace, different prayers rising from different buildings on the same street. In this city, in a modest house, a child is born. His mother is Zubayd. Hanım, his father, is Ali Rıza Efendi, a customs official who later turns to timber trade. The child is named Mustafa. His father dies while Mustafa is still young. His mother raises him alone. Zubaydah Hanım is a determined woman. She wants her son educated. She wants him to have a future. When the time comes for school, there are two options: a traditional religious school or a newer school with a more modern curriculum. Mustafa's mother chooses the traditional one at first. But Mustafa passes the modern school on his way through the neighborhood. He watches the students drilling in the courtyard. Something in him is drawn to it. He speaks to his mother. He convinces her. He transfers. It is perhaps his first independent decision, small but telling. At school, Mustafa stands out in mathematics. His teacher is impressed, enough to give him a second name, Kemal. It means maturity, perfection, completeness. From that point on, he is Mustafa Kemal. Salonica shapes him in ways he will carry for the rest of his life. He grows up among different peoples. He sees how different communities can live in the same city. He also sees the tensions, the anxieties, the quiet feeling that something in the empire is not working as it once did. He reads, he asks questions, he listens to adults talk about politics and war and the future of the Ottoman state. In 1893, at the age of 12, he enrolls in the Salonica military school. His mother is not entirely happy with the choice, but Mustafa is certain. The chapter of his Salonica childhood quietly closes. He does not know yet what lies ahead. No one does. He is just a boy from a port city, carrying a new name and a restless mind, stepping through a new door. Rest now, Salonica is quiet tonight. The harbor lights reflect on the water. The city breathes slowly in the dark. Good night. Good night. Salonica Military School, 1893. Mustafa Kemal is 12 years old when he walks through its gates. The school is disciplined and structured. Everything has its place, its time, its purpose. He adapts quickly. Mathematics remains his strongest subject. He develops an interest in history and literature. He begins learning French. But he is not only a student of books and lessons. He argues with his classmates about the state of the empire. Why has it fallen behind? What must change? These questions follow him from classroom to dormitory and back again. In 1896, he moves to the Monastir military school. The city is called Monastir. Then today it is Bitola in North Macedonia. monastery is an important chapter. Here he meets Ermanasi, a gifted speaker with a deep love of literature. Through him, Mustafa Kemal goes further into poetry and prose. He reads more widely. His French improves. He reads the French Enlightenment thinkers, Voltaire, Rousseau, Montesquieu. These ideas leave a mark that does not fade: reason over tradition, science over superstition, the separation of religious authority from the state he does not adopt. These ideas blindly he turns them over in his mind, tests them against what he sees around him, and keeps what makes sense to him. In 1899, he moves to Istanbul. He enters the War College. The imperial capital is vast and contradictory. The grandeur of the palace beside the poverty of the streets, a city that feels both powerful and fragile at the same time. At the War College, the military training intensifies tactics, strategy, artillery, map work. He is a strong student. He is also a political one. Underground meetings are held among students. Handwritten papers circulate. The future of the empire is debated. In whispers, the intelligence network of Sultan Abdulhamid II is everywhere. Mustafa Kemal comes under surveillance for a period, but his studies continue. In 1902, he enters the War Academy. 3 more years of advanced military education. He graduates in 1905 as a staff captain, one of the leading students of his class. He is 24 years old. He has spent more than a decade in military schools, moving from city to city, reading and arguing and preparing for something he cannot yet fully name. The Ottoman army is waiting for him. Assignments are waiting, wars are waiting. And beyond all of that, something much larger is waiting. Something that no one around him can yet imagine. But for now, he is simply a young officer stepping out into the world for the first time. Rest now. Istanbul is quiet tonight. A breeze moves off the Bosphorus. The minarets stand still against the dark sky. Good night. Good night.
1905, Damascus. Mustafa Kemal's first posting is to the 5th Army in Syria. Damascus is a city of ancient streets and covered markets, of minarets and caravans, of a history that stretches back further than memory. For a young officer from Salonica, it is a different world entirely. He serves, he observes, he is not content to simply carry out orders and wait for the next assignment. He forms a small secret society with fellow officers. They call it Vatan, meaning homeland. They discuss the state of the empire, the need for change, the gap between what the Ottoman state could be and what it has become. It is a small beginning, but the habit of organizing, of gathering like-minded people around a shared purpose will stay with him for the rest of his life. In 1907, he is transferred back to Salonica, his home city. He joins the Committee of Union and Progress, the organization known in the West as the Young Turks. It is the most significant political movement in the late Ottoman Empire. Officers, intellectuals, and bureaucrats united around the idea that the empire can only survive through constitutional reform. 1908, the Young Turk Revolution. The movement pressures Sultan Abdulhamid II into restoring the constitution and reopening parliament, people celebrate in the streets of Salonica and Istanbul, Muslims, Christians, and Jews embracing each other. A new era, they believe, has begun. Mustafa Kemal watches the celebrations with a more measured eye. He is glad the constitution is restored. But he is not entirely comfortable with the direction of the Committee of Union and Progress. He believes the military should stay out of politics, he says. So openly, this puts him at odds with some of the movement's most powerful figures, particularly Enver Pasha, who will become his rival for years. 1909, a counter-revolution breaks out in Istanbul. Conservative forces try to roll back the constitutional order. Mustafa Kemal is among the officers who march on Istanbul with the Action Army to suppress it. The counter-revolution is crushed. Abdülhamid is deposed. His brother takes the throne as Mehmed V. But real power now rests with the Committee of Union and Progress, and Mustafa Kemal is increasingly on the outside of that power. He is sent to various postings: France to observe military maneuvers, Tripolitania in today's Libya, where Italy has invaded Ottoman territory. He fights there alongside local forces in a guerrilla campaign, trying to hold back an enemy that is far better equipped. The Ottomans cannot hold Tripolitania. It is lost. But Mustafa Kemal learns something valuable in that desert campaign. He learns how a determined but outgunned force can resist. He learns the importance of knowing the ground. He learns what it means to fight with almost nothing and still make the enemy pay for every step forward. He is sent back before the campaign ends. The Balkan Wars have begun. 1912 and 1913, the Balkan states, once subjects of the empire, unite and attack. The Ottoman army suffers. Catastrophic defeats. Salonica falls. The city where Mustafa Kemal was born, where he went to school, where he first became a soldier, is no longer Ottoman. He receives the news quietly. Those who know him say he does not show what he feels in moments like this. He absorbs it, he files it away, he keeps moving. The Balkans are lost. The empire has shrunk dramatically in just 2 years, and the men running it are leading it toward a decision that Mustafa Kemal believes is a fatal mistake. An alliance with Germany, a world war, a gamble with everything that remains. He argues against it. He is not listened to. Rest now. The night is long. The road ahead is longer still. Good night. Good night. (1914). The Ottoman Empire enters. The First World War on the side of Germany and Austria-Hungary. Mustafa Kemal had argued against this decision. He believed it was a catastrophic mistake to tie the fate of a weakened empire to the outcome of a European war. He was not listened to. The decision was made by others. And now the empire was at war on multiple fronts simultaneously. Mustafa Kemal is given no major command at the outbreak of war. He is posted to Tekirdağ on the European side of Turkey, a quiet posting away from the action, away from the decisions being made in Istanbul. He is frustrated. He requests transfers. He writes letters. He wants to serve where it matters. Then in early 1915, the Allied powers make their move. Britain and France decide to force open the Dardanelles Strait if they can get their fleet through to Istanbul. They believe the Ottoman Empire will collapse quickly. Russia will be resupplied through the Black Sea. The war in the East will turn. In February and March 1915, the Allied fleet attempts to force the strait by sea. They fail. The Ottoman minefields and shore batteries hold. The Allies decide to land troops on the Gallipoli Peninsula and take the heights overlooking the strait from the land. April the 25th, 1915. Allied forces land at multiple points along the peninsula. British and French troops at Cape Hells in the South Australian, and New Zealand troops at a cove on the western coast, a place that will come to be known simply as Anzac Cove. Mustafa Kemal is now a lieutenant colonel commanding the 19th Division. His division is held in reserve inland. He is not at the coast when the landings begin. But he moves quickly. Without waiting for orders from above, he leads his troops toward the sound of the fighting. He reaches the high ground at Chinook Bear, just as Australian and New Zealand soldiers are climbing toward it from the other side. His men are running low on ammunition. He gives an order that will be remembered and debated for 100 years. He tells them not to attack. He tells them to fix their bayonets and lie down if they cannot shoot. They can at least make the enemy stop and take cover. And those few minutes of hesitation on the Allied side are enough. His reinforcements arrive. The heights are held. I am not ordering you to attack. I am ordering you to die. In the time that passes until we die, other troops and commanders can come and take our places. These words, whether spoken exactly as recorded or shaped by memory and retelling, capture something real about that moment. The willingness to ask for total sacrifice, the calculation that holding the ground was worth any cost. The Gallipoli campaign goes on for 8 months. Both sides suffer enormous losses. The Ottomans, the Australians, the New Zealanders, the British, the French, hundreds of thousands of casualties in the rocky hills above a narrow strait. Mustafa Kemal fights through all of it. At Anafartala he commands the northern sector. He is wounded. He keeps going. A piece of shrapnel hits his chest pocket and strikes his watch instead of his heart. He keeps the watch. He keeps going. By December 1915, the Allied forces begin withdrawing from the peninsula. The campaign is over. The Ottoman defense is held. Mustafa Kemal emerges from Gallipoli as the most celebrated Ottoman commander of the entire campaign. His name is known across the empire. Ordinary soldiers speak of him. Newspapers write about him. He's promoted to colonel, then to general. He is 34 years old. The war is not over. There are other fronts, other battles, more losses ahead. The empire continues to bleed. But something has changed for Mustafa Kemal. He has proven something at Gallipoli, not just to others, to himself. That he can hold a line when everything is against him. That he can ask men to give everything and they will follow. That he can make decisions under the worst possible conditions and be right. He will need all of that and more in the years that are coming. Rest now. The peninsula is quiet tonight. The sea moves slowly against the rocks. The hills are still. Good night. (1916). The war continues on every front, and on every front the Ottoman Empire is being worn down. Mustafa Kemal is sent east to the Caucasus front, where Russian forces have pushed deep into Anatolia. The situation is serious. The city of Mush has fallen, Bitlis has fallen, eastern Anatolia is under threat. He arrives, assesses the situation, and launches a counteroffensive. Mush and Bitlis are retaken. It is one of the few Ottoman successes on any front during this period. He is promoted to General Pasha, a title that carries weight in Ottoman military culture. But the wider war is going badly. In Mesopotamia, British forces are advancing. In Palestine, the lines are collapsing. The army is exhausted. Supply lines are broken. Men are hungry and under-equipped. Mustafa Kemal serves on the Syrian front in 1917. He sees the state of the army up close. He writes long reports to Istanbul. He describes what he sees without softening it. The men are suffering. The leadership is making poor decisions. The alliance with Germany is serving German interests, not Ottoman ones. His reports are not well received. He is too blunt, too critical. He clashes with German commanders attached to the Ottoman forces. He requests to be relieved of his command. The request is granted. He goes to Istanbul. In Istanbul, he observes the political situation with growing alarm. The Committee of Union and Progress is still in control, but its grip is weakening. The war is clearly being lost. People are hungry. The streets of the capital feel different from the confident city of just a few years before. In 1918, he travels to Europe with the Ottoman Crown Prince Vahdettin. They visit Germany. They meet German commanders and officials. Mustafa Kemal watches and listens and comes away more convinced than ever that Germany is losing the war and that the Ottoman alliance with Germany is a catastrophe. He says this clearly to Vahdettin on the train back. Whether his words make any impression is unclear. Back in Anatolia, he takes command of forces in southern Turkey facing the British advance through Palestine. In Syria, he manages the retreat as well as any retreat can be managed. He keeps his forces intact when others around him are falling apart. October 1918, the end comes quickly. Bulgaria signs an armistice. Then the Ottomans, the Mudros Armistice, is signed on the 30th of October, 1918. The war is over. The Ottoman Empire has lost the terms of the armistice. A severe the army is to be demobilized. The straits are open to Allied warships. Strategic points throughout the empire are to be occupied. The leaders of the Committee of Union and Progress, Enver Pasha, Talat Pasha, and Cemal Pasha, flee the country on a German submarine. They leave behind the empire. They led into ruin. Allied warships sail into Istanbul. Harbor British, French, and Italian troops occupy the capital. The Ottoman government functions under the watchful eye of the occupiers. Mustafa Kemal watches all of this from Istanbul. He is 37 years old. He is a celebrated general with no army to command. The empire he served is dissolving around him. Most people in his position would accept what has happened, would adapt to the new reality, would find a way to live within the arrangements being made by the victorious powers. Mustafa Kemal is not most people. He is watching, he is thinking, he is waiting for the right moment, and he believes against all available evidence that the story is not over. In May 1919, he receives an appointment inspector of the 9th Army in Anatolia. His official task is to oversee the demobilization of Ottoman forces in the region. He boards a ship called the Bandurma. He sails toward the Black Sea coast of Anatolia. He is leaving Istanbul. He does not know if he will ever return as anything other than a fugitive, but he knows what he is going to do.
he is going to fight. Rest now. The Bosphorus is dark and still tonight. The city breathes quietly beneath its occupation. Something is about to begin. Good night.
May the 19th, 1919, Samson. Mustafa Kemal steps off the Bandırma onto the Black Sea coast of Anatolia. His official role is inspector. His real purpose is something else entirely. Anatolia is in chaos. Greek forces have just landed in Izmir. French troops occupy the South. British forces control strategic points. The Ottoman government in Istanbul is functioning under Allied supervision. The empire that once stretched across 3 continents has been reduced to a broken shell. But Anatolia itself is not yet fully occupied, and in the towns and villages of the interior there are still armed men, still resistance. Committees, still people who have not accepted what has happened. Mustafa Kemal travels through Anatolia. He meets with commanders, local leaders and representatives of the people. He organizes, he persuades, he builds the architecture of a national movement from the ground up. In July 1919, the Erzurum Congress is held. Delegates from the eastern provinces gather and agree on principles. Anatolia must not be divided. The national will must be the determining force. No foreign mandate will be accepted. In September, the Sivas Congress brings together representatives from across the country. The same principles are reaffirmed on a national scale. A representative committee is formed. Mustafa Kemal leads it. The Ottoman government in Istanbul is alarmed. It tries to have him arrested. He resigns his military commission before they can act. He is now a civilian, a revolutionary, a man operating entirely outside the official structures of the state. April 1920, Ankara, a new parliament opens. The Grand National Assembly of Turkey elected representatives from across Anatolia gather in this small central Anatolian city. Mustafa Kemal is elected its president. 2 governments now exist. Istanbul, under Allied occupation. Ankara, in open defiance of everything the Allies are trying to impose. The military campaigns begin. In the East, Kazım Karabekir leads Ottoman forces against Armenia. Troops, the Eastern Front closes. A treaty is signed. The eastern border is secured. In the south, French forces and local resistance fighters clash. Across a long, painful campaign, the people of Antep, Maraş, and Urfa resist with almost nothing. Eventually, France negotiates a settlement and withdraws. In the west, the Greek army pushes deeper into Anatolia. They are well equipped, well supplied, and advancing steadily eastward from Izmir. The battles of İnönü in early 1921 stopped the advance twice. Mustafa Kemal appoints İsmet Pasha to command the Western Front. August 1921, the Battle of Sakarya. The Greek army makes its deepest push toward Ankara. The fighting lasts 21 days and 21 nights. Mustafa Kemal takes personal command. He is wounded. During the battle, he commands from a stretcher for part of it. The Greek advance is broken at the Sakarya River. The tide turns. For nearly a year, both sides consolidate and prepare. Mustafa Kemal spends this time reorganizing the army.
securing supplies and waiting for exactly the right moment. August 1922, the Great Offensive begins. The Turkish forces break through the Greek lines in just days. The Greek army collapses and retreats westward toward Izmir. The pursuit is relentless. September 1922, Turkish forces enter Izmir. The war in the west is over. An armistice is signed. Greek forces withdraw from Anatolia. Negotiations begin at Lausanne, in Switzerland. July 1923, the Treaty of Lausanne is signed. Turkey's borders are recognized by the international community. The occupation is over. Anatolia and Eastern Thrace are confirmed as Turkish territory. The war that began in the ruins of a defeated empire has ended, with the birth of a new state. Mustafa Kemal is 42 years old. He has spent the last 4 years building a resistance movement from nothing, winning a war on multiple fronts simultaneously, and negotiating a peace that gives his country a future. But the military victory is only the beginning of what he has in mind. The harder work, he believes, is still ahead. Rest now, Anatolia is quiet tonight. After years of war, the land is still. The roads are empty. The fires are out. Good night. Good night.
October the 29th, 1923. The Grand National Assembly. In Ankara votes to declare the Republic of Turkey. Mustafa Kemal is elected its first president. He is no longer a military commander fighting for survival. He is the leader of a new state, and he has very clear ideas about what that state should look like. The changes come quickly, one after another, sweeping and deliberate. In March 1924, the Caliphate is abolished. The Ottoman dynasty is expelled from the country. The last symbolic link to the imperial past is severed. Religious courts are closed, and a unified secular legal system is introduced based on European models. The Swiss civil code becomes the basis of Turkish family law. Education is unified under state control. Religious schools are closed or reformed. A new generation of secular schools takes their place. The curriculum changes entirely. A generation of young Turks begins growing up in a country that looks and functions differently from the one their parents knew. In 1925, religious brotherhoods are banned. The fez, the distinctive Ottoman hat, is prohibited, and Western-style hats are introduced the same year. The Western calendar replaces the Islamic calendar for official purposes. These may seem like small changes, but they reorient daily life toward a different set of references and rhythms. 1926, a new legal code comes into force. Women gain significant new rights. Polygamy is outlawed. Civil marriage becomes the only legally recognized form. Women gain the right to divorce and to custody of their children. 1928, the Arabic script, which had been used to write Turkish for centuries, is replaced by a new Latin-based alphabet. Mustafa Kemal personally travels across the country carrying a blackboard teaching the new letters. In village squares and town halls, overnight, every printed book, every official document, every newspaper becomes unreadable to those who only know the old script. A nation must relearn to read and write. 1930, women gained the right to vote in local elections. 1934,
Women gained the right to vote in national elections, and to stand for parliament, 18 women are elected to the Grand National Assembly in the elections that follow. This happens before women had the vote in France, in Italy, in Belgium. 1934. A law requires all citizens to take a family surname. Mustafa Kemal is given the surname Ataturk by the Grand National Assembly, father of the Turks. He does not accept this name without some discomfort. He is not a man entirely at ease with personality cults, but he accepts it, and it becomes the name history knows him by. These reforms do not happen without resistance. There are uprisings, there are critics, there are those who believe the changes are too fast, too radical, too dismissive of tradition and faith that Ataturk suppresses. Opposition firmly, his government is not a democracy in the full sense of the word. The Republican People's Party is the only permitted party for most of his time. In power, critics are silenced and courts are used against opponents. This is a part of the historical record that is documented and acknowledged by historians. At the same time, the transformation of the country during these years is real and measurable. Literacy rises, infrastructure expands, new universities open. He moves the capital to Ankara, away from the old imperial city of Istanbul, and builds a new city around a new idea of what Turkey should be. He works constantly and sleeps little. He drinks heavily, a habit that will shorten his life is brief. Marriage to Latif Hanım ends in divorce. In 1925, he adopts several children, including a girl named Sabiha Gökçen, who becomes one of the world's first female combat pilots. He is a complicated man living an extraordinary life at an extraordinary moment. But by the mid-1930s, his health is declining. Those around him can see it, even when he refuses to acknowledge it. Rest now, Ankara is quiet tonight. The new republic sleeps and the reforms settle slowly into the fabric of daily life, like rain into dry ground. Good night.
(1937). Ataturk is 56 years old. To those who see him regularly, the change is visible. He tires. More easily, his skin has taken on a yellowed tone. He spends long evenings at the dinner table in Ankara or at his villa on the Bosporus, talking late into the night, drinking raki, surrounded by the small circle of people he trusts. He still works, he still reads, he still involves himself in the details of government and education and foreign policy. But the energy that once seemed inexhaustible is quieter now. He has always been a reader. History, philosophy, military, strategy, science. In these final years, he returns again and again to books. He annotates them. He argues with the authors in the margins. His library at Çankaya, his presidential residence in Ankara, is filled with thousands of volumes in Turkish, French, and German. He thinks a great deal about what he has built and whether it will last. He has spent 15 years reshaping a country. He knows that institutions take generations to become truly stable. He knows that what one generation builds, another can dismantle. He speaks often in these years about the future, about young people, about education as the foundation of everything. Without educated citizens, he says in various ways at various times, none of the rest of it means anything. In 1938, his illness can no longer be concealed or managed. The diagnosis is cirrhosis of the liver. The decades of heavy drinking have done their damage.
He spends time at the Dolmabahçe palace in Istanbul. The palace sits directly on the Bosporus. From his bedroom window, the water is always visible, always moving. Ships pass, the light changes through the day. He receives visitors, officials, old military colleagues, foreign dignitaries. He conducts meetings from his bed when he cannot rise. He signs documents, he follows. The news Europe is moving toward another war. He watches it with the eyes of someone who has seen what war does to countries and to people. Turkey, under his guidance, has maintained a careful neutrality. In the approaching storm, he has built relationships with multiple powers, without committing to any alliance that could pull the young republic into a catastrophe. It cannot survive. His foreign minister is İnönü, his old commander from the War of Independence, will carry this policy forward. Ataturk trusts him. In the autumn of 1938, he falls into a coma for a period. He recovers, then declines again. November the 10th, 1938. At 9:09 in the morning, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk dies at Dolmabahçe Palace. He is 57 years old. The news spreads through Turkey. Within hours, people stop in the streets, schools close, grown men and women weep openly in public, in a way that is not common in Turkish culture. Something has ended that cannot be replaced. His body lies in state at Dolmabahçe. Hundreds of thousands of people file past from Istanbul. His remains are taken to Ankara by a special train. At every station along the route, people wait in silence. He's placed in a temporary tomb at the Ethnography Museum in Ankara. In 1953, his remains are moved to Anıtkabir, the great mausoleum built on a hill, overlooking the city he chose as the capital of the Republic he founded. Every year on the 10th of November, at 9:09 in the morning, Turkey stops, traffic stops. People stop walking, sirens sound across the country. It lasts 1 minute. Then life continues. Rest now, Dolmabahçe is quiet tonight. The Bosphorus moves slowly past the palace walls. The water carries everything forward as it always has. Good night.
He is gone. But the country he built is still here. Let us take a moment to sit with what that means. When Mustafa Kemal was born in 1881, the Ottoman Empire was in its final decades of vast structure, built over 6 centuries, weakened by war, debt, and the pressures of a rapidly changing world. The territory that would become Turkey was administered from Istanbul by a sultan whose authority was both religious and political, whose empire stretched across 3 continents and was slowly losing its grip on all of them. When he died in 1938, Turkey was a republic, a secular state with a constitution, a parliament, a Latin alphabet, a civil legal code, women who could vote and stand for election, a unified education system, and a defined territory recognized by international law. The distance between those 2 points is enormous. The speed at which it was crossed is almost without parallel in modern history. His admirers point to all of this, a nation built from the ruins of an empire, a people given new tools, new institutions, a new orientation toward the future. The transformation of Turkey from a defeated imperial remnant into a functioning modern state in less than 2 decades. His critics point to other things: the suppression of political opposition, the periods of one-party rule, the forced pace of change that left little room for those who disagreed, the treatment of Kurdish populations and of non-Muslim minorities during this period. These are documented historical facts that are part of the full picture. History does not offer clean heroes. Ataturk was a product of his time. He was shaped by the late Ottoman Empire, by the experience of watching that empire lose war after war and territory after territory. He was shaped by the near total destruction of his country in the First World War and its aftermath. He was shaped by a genuine belief that the only way forward was through reason, science, and secular governance. He had enormous confidence in his own judgment. Sometimes that confidence was justified. Sometimes it led him to impose solutions on people who were not given a choice. Both things are true. What is also true is that Turkey today, whatever its current direction, and whatever debates continue within it, is shaped in fundamental ways by what he built: the institutions, the legal framework, the sense of national identity, the relationship between religious authority and the state. All of these carry his fingerprints. Beyond Turkey, his influence spread to other nations emerging from colonial or imperial structures in the 20th century. Leaders in the Middle East, in Asia, in Africa looked at what he had done and drew lessons from it. Some followed his model closely, some adapted it, some rejected it entirely, but they all had to reckon with it. He was a soldier who became a statesman, a man of war who spent his peacetime trying to make war less likely by building a country strong enough to defend itself without needing to attack anyone else. He once said, in words recorded by those around him, that peace at home and peace in the world was the foundation of everything. Whether he fully lived up to that ideal is a matter of historical debate, but as a statement of intent, it guided Turkish foreign policy for decades after his death. He was born in a city that is no longer part of the country. He founded Salonica as Greek. Now, the house where he was born still stands. People visit it. They look at the small rooms and try to imagine the child who grew up there. He is buried on a hill in Ankara, looking out over the city he chose as his capital. Every year, millions of people visit. And Kabir, they stand in the great courtyard and look up at the mausoleum. Some are moved, some are simply curious. Some come with complicated feelings about the man and what he did. All of that is legitimate. History earns its complexity. What we can say simply is this: he was born in a city on the edge of a dying empire. He watched that empire collapse around him. He fought in its wars. He survived its defeats. And then when almost everyone had accepted that it was over, he refused to accept it. He gathered what remained. He built something new from it, something that has lasted now for more than 100 years. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, 1881 to 1938. He was here. He changed things. He is gone. And the country he built is still here, still changing, still trying to find its way, as countries do. Sleep now. The story is complete. Good night.